Uh, Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us at this session. So I've got Dr. Joanne Waldstreicher with us, the MD, and she's Chief Medical Officer for Johnson & Johnson. She's going to present a great presentation of how to knit everything together, from simple clean hands up at the front to simple bandages to the whole health devices and the fundamentals of supporting health workers and patient safety on this day. As we said, this is a day to celebrate health worker safety, which means patient safety. And please speak up for health worker safety. And Dr. Joanne will speak up for health worker safety because she's really passionate about this. And I'll ask my colleagues to ask her to join in. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Joanne Waldstreicher, Chief Medical Officer at Johnson & Johnson. I'm so pleased to be with you today at the International Alliance of Patients Organizations 9th Global Patients Congress. And it's especially meaningful to me to be speaking with you on World Patient Safety Day. Safety is at the very heart of the office I lead at J&J. The Office of the Chief Medical Officer is a functionally independent group responsible for guiding medical safety and championing bioethical principles across Johnson & Johnson. My team of about 1,000 medical and scientific professionals makes safety our top priority. We review, monitor, and make decisions about the safety of our products. Our team conducts objective science and evidence-based safety assessments that are built into every stage of our products' life cycles. We monitor for adverse events and ensure reporting procedures are consistent with global, regional, and local health authority requirements. And every action we undertake is done through the lens of the people who use our products every day. This year, the theme for World Patient Safety Day is Health Worker Safety, a priority for patient safety. It's so important to speak up for health worker safety. Every day, health workers tirelessly care for patients' physical, emotional, and mental well-being. And they are on the front lines of every health crisis. They're caring for patients, administering medicines and vaccines, and doing all they can to keep their patients as safe as possible. Patient and health worker safety are closely connected, and we cannot have one without the other. In the session just before this, we heard from regulators about the importance of harmonization for access to safe medicines, vaccines, and medical devices. Harmonization is another way of speaking the same language, and speaking the same language enables us to work together, whether it's the language of science, the language of ethical decision-making, or the language of safety. Especially now, during a global health crisis, keeping patient safety at the center requires all of us to share a common language of the fundamentals of safety. In our daily lives, and especially during a pandemic, the global language of safety is communicated in the actions we each take to be responsible for our safety and that of everyone we come in contact with. Wearing a mask, washing our hands, practicing physical distancing, staying informed by reading reliable sources, and remembering that everyone has to do his or her part to practice these fundamentals to help keep our health workers and the patients they care for as safe as possible. In health systems, the common language of safety includes investing in training for health workers, supporting their mental health and well-being, and making sure they have the necessary resources, like a robust supply chain for PPE and medical equipment, to keep themselves and the patients they serve as safe as possible. In science, medicine, and vaccine development, the common language of safety includes making sure our decisions are informed by data and science, having uncompromising insistence on patient safety at every stage of product development to ensure our products are as safe and effective as possible, and taking an ethics and values-driven approach to everything we do. Johnson & Johnson is committed to collaborating with multiple stakeholders to ensure any future safe and effective vaccines and/or therapies against COVID-19 will be accessible wherever needed, We're mobilizing our global reach, deep scientific expertise, and extensive partnerships to address the needs of families, communities, and healthcare professionals around the world. Healthcare workers are our essential partners in bringing a vaccine through the process and to the public. It's the healthcare workers who are doing the person-to-person work of administering clinical trials and interacting directly with participants. They are our eyes and ears. Healthcare workers will be the ones administering a vaccine when it's approved, and post-market safety involves reporting and vigilance from healthcare workers, as well as the people who get vaccinated. Throughout our work of developing medicines and products of all kind, we come back to the scientific fundamentals of safety every day to keep people, patients, and healthcare workers as safe as possible. We make decisions informed by data and science. We put clear safety protocols in place at every stage, and we follow an ethics and values-driven approach to everything we do. Our responsibility includes making sure we conduct preclinical testing before any medicine is administered to people for the first time. Our first-in-human committees are responsible for reviewing all safety data, study designs, or launch plans before our products are used in people for the first time. We conduct controlled clinical trials to evaluate efficacy and safety, working closely with healthcare workers. Objective and proactive safety monitoring and evaluation are built into every stage, and we maintain formal processes and protocols involving committees of experts to provide governance and advisement. After a vaccine or any product has been brought to market, we continue active surveillance to monitor for safety signals. We also conduct post-marketing studies using real-world data. We partner with regulatory authorities and other stakeholders, most notably healthcare workers, using advanced technologies to help us respond rapidly and appropriately to issues that arise. Throughout the entire process, we apply a bioethical lens to ensure our decision-making is guided by our principles, keeping people at the heart of every decision we make. The world is coming together to develop a vaccine, and while that continues, prevention of disease goes beyond even COVID, and patient safety remains a global health concern. One thing we can learn from this pandemic: we must make sure we have the right safety and prevention measures in place that can help create a healthier world, including paying attention to other diseases such as influenza, tuberculosis, and Ebola, for example. These public health crises shine a light on our collective responsibility to build a global health system with safety at its core. Leading with safety takes a village, and in a pandemic, it takes a global village. We have to speak the same language and have the same goals to keep people, patients, and health workers as safe as possible. Our only competitor, our only enemy, is the virus. 2 weeks ago, J&J signed a pledge in collaboration with 8 other vaccine manufacturers to always make the safety and well-being of vaccinated individuals our top priority. We pledge to continue to adhere to high scientific and ethical standards regarding the conduct of clinical trials and the rigor of manufacturing processes. And we pledge to only submit for approval or emergency use authorization after demonstrating safety and efficacy through a phase 3 clinical study that is designed and conducted to meet requirements of expert regulatory authorities such as the FDA. We also committed to work to ensure a sufficient supply and range of vaccine options, including those suitable for global access. We believe this pledge will help ensure public confidence in the rigorous scientific and regulatory process by which COVID-19 vaccines are evaluated and may ultimately be approved. I'd like to close with a call to action, things we can all do to support healthcare worker and patient safety. Let's each take responsibility for our personal safety and that of everyone we come in contact with, including healthcare workers, by wearing a mask, washing our hands, and practicing physical distancing. Let's also work to keep ourselves informed, stay abreast of the science, glean as much information as possible, and try to read from reliable sources. And let's encourage public trust in science. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Stryker. Walter Stryker, it's very great to have that vision put across to us that it's a global village that is now needed to make sure that we survive this pandemic and come over it. And it's very important to take home that simple message. You take your own responsibility and those of your families, and everything will fall into place. And I'm so glad we had her insight into this. It knitted together what we have been saying for 2 days. And thank you very much again. And now I would ask the audience to please join me in the next session, because it's a very important session. How are we going to pay for this all? It's about the economics of universal health coverage, and it's about the impact COVID has had on our economies. How are we going to get back on track for universal health coverage by 2030? And how are we going to pay for all the measures of repairing the damage to our health systems, but also advancing them? So please join Joseph Kutzian and myself and Neda in the next session about the health economics of this pandemic, very unique perspective. And I would ask you to go back into the auditorium and join us at the other side. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Joanne, for this great insight. Thank you. Bye.